a sudden they come to your classroom and you try treating them with as a child, that's hard for them to change gears. And consequently, people start butting heads. Also, teachers' failure usually due to poor class control. If things are not going great in your classroom, every time an administrator or a supervisor walks through and it seems like things are very out of control, they could always go back and say, well, what's going on here? Is it possible that we put all the misbehavior problems in this one class and that happens year after year after year? And they also, in this Kanner model, they feel that firm control maintained humanely is liberated. So I may be very, very controlled, but I make sure that I treat you with respect, and that's all great if you're being very humane. But if you're the person that is being the subordinate all the time, after a while, you're going to get really tired of it. Your basic rights: to maintain an optimal setting for learning, to expect appropriate behavior. Well, like I said, you can expect it, but not necessarily going to get it. And to expect help from your administration and your parents when needed, which is great. That is what your administrators are on campus, to support you, to help you, not only with your materials that you need, instructional materials, but with discipline. However, the administrators have a lot on their plate. And I was just talking to a principal this past Wednesday. I mentor students on Wednesday at one middle school campus. And my little Voyager, we call them Voyagers, was saying, what's the point of me trying to change my ways? When I try to behave myself, and I'll go in and I'll say to this one art teacher, good morning, how are you doing today? Instead of the teacher replying, well, fine, thanks, or good morning, or welcome to class, or sit down, the teacher responds, I'm not going to take any attitude from you today, sit down. And the student already knows that the teacher already has an office referral with her name on it. She hasn't done anything, she just walked through the door. So when you get those type of students that are continuously being sent to the office, the first time, yeah, and it seems legit, all your documentations, the principal may support you. But if you continuously send students to the office for any little thing, I looked at her records, the principal showed me a record, she was sent for not having a pencil, she was sent for, the teacher wrote in the referral for LOL. That's what he wrote on the referral, that she was laughing out loud in class. Everybody else was too, but this one student was the one that was sent down. Just silly infractions. The principal doesn't listen to this particular teacher. He does not give this teacher any kind of support anymore. He has burned his bridges. And that's where you do not want to go. You want to make sure that you can count on that administrator support. You know what? Students have rights too. They have rights to have teachers who will help them learn and to limit their self-destructive behavior. If you see a student going into a path that was doing better, all of a sudden a new student has checked in and they have just buddied up. They're really good buddies. And this new student is not a good influence on this, your one student that you have in mind. And you can just see already the path where this student's going to start spiraling down. Well, that's part of your responsibility to try to help them head down that path of self-destructive behavior. To have support from teachers for appropriate behavior, and the right to choose how to behave, knowing what the class expectations and consequences are. That's why it's very important at the very beginning. Make sure everybody understands your rules. What are the consequences? Make sure they're fair, and it's something that you can actually implement. Now, after that, if the student absolutely understands what is expected of them, if they choose to break the rules, well, that's their choice. And again, you have to teach the expectations early, and you've got to be persistent. You don't get after one person. You don't have to get after Reuben for sitting today with sunglasses on his head. And then Robert comes in the next day, and he's got sunglasses on his head, and you don't say anything to him. Because kids will pick up on that right away and say, Okay, so again, explain the rules, be fair, firm, and this is where we come in, where you've got a document in front of you, FERPA. How many of you have ever heard of FERPA? Of course, Ms. Rose. Okay, FERPA is federal law. Okay, it stands for the Family Policy Compliance Office. The Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. What this is saying is that the student's information, their name, their social security number, their phone numbers, their grades, that is private and personal information. You are not supposed to release that kind of information just to anybody. There are exceptions, and the exceptions are listed on the back page, on the bullets. For example, when, starting on the bottom, sorry. School officials with legitimate and educational interests. So, for example, I'm in central office, and about a month ago when I went to my middle school, I went to the registrar and said, I need my Voyager's grades. I want to see how she's doing. She had been failing biology, but I want to see if she's brought the grades up or not. Well, I'm a school official, and what I get with that information, those grades, I'm not going to go to my local newspaper or TV and say, hey, did you hear that so-and-so, she was failing and she said, it's private and personal, but I'm a school official, so they could release it to me. Other schools to which the student is transferring, they can release that, no problem. Specified officials for audit or evaluation process. If the students are involved in a program, let's say it's a magnet grant, where they are in a pilot program, and you're going to have to write all kinds of compliance reports for this program, and they're going to need grades, so you can release it to those people. Appropriate parties in connection with financial aid. If the student is putting in for SSI, Social Security benefits, putting in for college scholarships to find out if they qualify, we can release it to them. Organizations conducting certain studies, they can do that. Accredited organizations. If the court of law gets involved, if these kids become truant, and the judge that the student is going to go in front of wants to know, are they passing or failing? What are their conduct grades like? If the judge's clerk calls the school must release that information to the court. Appropriate officials of health and safety, emergencies. If child welfare comes in, if they've had acute reports of child abuse, and again, they need information. Has this child been attending school? Have they been absent a lot? Are they tardy? Are they cutting classes? That kind of information can be released to them. And again, also within the juvenile system, pursuant to specific state law, all that information can be released to those officials, okay? Anybody else, not without parent side consent. When those students turn 18 years of age, the parents' rights now are transferred to the student. So keep that in mind. When keep FERPA in mind, when assertive discipline, this is what their mentality was saying. Okay, I've just listed all those things that where assertive discipline, the cantor said, oh, well, when Heather misbehaves, and you've already called her down, and she continues to perpetuate the misbehavior, and I've already taken her aside and talked, Heather, you need to calm down, and you're disturbing people that are on your row, and she continues and continues. Well, guess what? I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to write Heather's name right here on the board, where everybody can see. Heather can see it, which is fine, but so can everybody else. You know what, Heather continues, she just got a check mark. And everybody knows that one check mark, that's her first warning. And it's a big red check mark. And because she's got a check mark, she's already on the track, and she's going down the track. If she gets all the way around, guess what? She's busted. Going to go to the office. All right, so the day continues, same class period, and Heather continues again. Well, I'm going to go in and I'm going to put another check mark next to Heather. By this time, you really got to pull Heather out and you need to talk to her. Instead of Heather, I named this person Ranita. So I'm going to pull Ranita out, and I'm going to be talking to her again. over here on the side. Take away the audience, but I want to talk to her over here in the corner on the side. All right? But never, never, never leave the class alone. Don't just go, okay, let's go step out in the hallway, and all of a sudden you can't see the rest of the class. You're out in the hallway talking to Ranita. Nobody's keeping an eye on here, and you never know what else can be going on. So make sure you keep an eye on them as well. Well, now she's got 2 check marks. She continues in the same class. Now she's going to have 3 check marks. That's it. She's busted. She's lost. Now she's going to have some kind of consequence. Whether it's calling the parents, after school detention, she's going to have some kind of a lose of privilege, morning detention, after school detention. Something, she's going to lose some kind of a privilege. She's going to receive some kind of a consequence. As far as FERPA is concerned, this is not allowable. I would not use it, and there's still some, I go into classrooms all the time, and I still see, from time to time, I'll see this kind of going on, where they're checking off. The problem here is, let's say Ranita is up there, and in some of the really tough schools on the west side of town where I work, there's a lot of gang activity. And let's say Ranita belongs to Gang A, or the family of Ranita belongs to Gang A. And all of a sudden, here comes this mom to visit. She got permission from the office to come sit in and visit my class and see how her son is doing. And that mom and that mom's family is affiliated with Gang B. Or they don't even have to be gang families. They're just families that don't like each other. This one's always trying to outdo this other one. Now, this mom walks in and says, wow, look, Ranita, God, she's got 3 check marks. Now I want to go off, and I run into somebody that I know at HEB. I went into Eduardo's class the other day, and Ranita just doesn't know how to behave. She had 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 check marks, comadre. Really? 3 check? Then that person goes off to Walgreens over here and says, you know what I heard? I heard not only that the Ranita gets into the office, she was suspended. And then the story just perpetuates and goes on and on. They just violated her rights. So that's why, if you are doing your student teaching, and the substitute comes in, and the substitute is using something like this, you make sure you let your supervisor know, or you mention this to the substitute, I think we use a different method for student accounting in here. Let's use that. Here's some suggestions. If your administrator or your teacher or supervising teacher insists that you use this kind of thing, that's fine. Use a Post-it note. Write the name on the Post-it note, or if you want to have a reminder for yourself, write a Post-it note and put it on your desk. Put it inside the grade book. Put it on a clipboard. Put it somewhere where anyone that walks in through the door, they're not going to see it. They're not going to have anything to do with it. You still have your documentation. If you're just up to here, Ranita just keeps going and going, you know what, I've got to do something. I've got to do something because what I've already tried talking to her, that hasn't helped. I tried calling her mom. Her mom hung up on me. I already tried, taking away, everybody else had 10 minutes free time. She didn't get free time. And that just made things worse. Well, you know what? I'm going to have to do something else. When I call her in for a conference, 9 will get to 10, and she'll say, I didn't do anything. I don't know what you're talking about. But if you have your little Post-it notes, your little documentations over here, you say, yes, on date such and such time, this happened, that happened. You've got something you can hang your hat on. Okay? It'll help if you contact the parents. Before there's any problems, contact your parents. Make that initial contact. You start forming those bonds, those relationships. I can't emphasize how important that is. That way they know you. They'll know that you are a fair person. You've got it. You're very hardworking. You prepare yourself. So when their students come in, and their little baby darling all of a sudden starts messing up or doing whatever, you've already had that relationship. Instead of just, oh, by the way, call 3 months down the line after school has started. I cannot control your child, and he keeps disrupting my class. So call them. And it's important to build those important relationships. Here's the big one. That art teacher that I was talking about earlier with my mentee, This is what he's not doing.